It's your boy, Sir Splash. Say you're gonna beat Splash, put it on the Bible. Whole game's trash, boy, put it on a cycle. Money talks, really, I don't understand. Said he wants smoke, but they all do the running man.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Sir Splash. And today, this video is a product of requests I've had over several months as a content creator. Being well known for enjoying Star Wars and making Star Wars content, I've been asked to combine Star Wars with one of the most popular fictional verses around in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. So essentially this video is, what if the Saiyans existed in the Star Wars universe? Essentially, what if Saiyans were Force users? So I'll give a brief background on both sides of the coin, and then what they bring to the table and what would likely happen if they were to merge. So Star Wars, as you know, it's one of the most classic films of all time, created by George Lucas. It takes place in a galaxy far, far away. Now, these characters essentially, especially the Jedi, use something called the Force, which is, in essence, sentience. So the connection of all things. If life exists, if sentience exists, the Force is there. It simply is. And they manipulate the Force to become powerful warriors, either on the light side of the Force, where they preserve and focus on longevity and peace, or the dark side of the Force, in which they use brute force and shorter spans of dominance. And then there's the gray area in which they kind of use both sides of the coin to balance out. This verse, Jedi and Sith have been going at it for thousands of years, and we've seen greats like Luke Skywalker, Yoda, Darth Vader, Darth Sidious, Darth Kaitis. They've had multiple powerful users of the Force and representatives of the Force. Now, what can they do with their perks in Star Wars? They have lightsabers, which are considered astral-based weapons in the EU, as expanded on in the novel Riptide about Jaden Korr, in which the Force is the reflection in the lightsaber. That is, your connection to the Force is reflected in your blade in the lightsaber. So if you don't have a Force connection, you can't create a kyber crystal made blade. It would just be a hilt with a rock in it. But if you take the lightsaber of a powerful Force user, you can still use that lightsaber because their connection lingers. So what kind of other perks besides the lightsaber? Now, lightsabers can pretty much cut through like Durasteel, large monsters with tough hide. Sometimes they run into resistances, like, other lightsabers, they don't necessarily cut through other lightsabers. Thick enough armor, it could take time for it to cut through, as well as thick enough alien hide. But they are, at bare minimum, plasma based, which, at least hot as the sun, and they can get hotter. So a lightsaber is very potent as a weapon. They have force push, basically a telekinetic push, which can range from anything pushing a single person, hundreds of feet, or even a dozen yards. It doesn't have to be anything major, to pushing millions of people at the same time. We have force pull, where you can pull people and objects towards you instantly. Usually this is used to impale them with your lightsaber or to incapacitate them. The force choke, made famous by Darth Vader, in which you telekinetically choke out an adversary, and the most advanced practitioners of this ability could choke people out without even seeing them or being near them. They could literally choke them out from across like a solar system. It doesn't really matter. Like I was talking about before, you have just regular telekinesis. You can throw stuff around, up to even we've seen Luke Skywalker and Kip Duran manipulate black holes with their TK. Molecular manipulation. To create your lightsaber, you have to manipulate the kyber crystal on a subatomic level, and they can manipulate water particles, turning it into frozen ice. So they do have molecular manipulation when they want to. Regeneration, we've seen Luke, he was basically got Swiss cheese, had 12 massive holes in his body, and with one tap of the Force regenerated and healed himself, as well as regular Force healing and sustaining yourself with the Force. Darth Maul got cut in half, and his rage in the Force allowed him to sustain himself after the fall and connect himself to cybernetic legs. You have telepathy, reading other people's thoughts, communicating with your thoughts. Very basic, very easy for Force users. Illusions, you can make people see what you want them to see, as well as large scale projections of illusions, so you can make a massive amount of people see things. They could, induce an illusion making like a star destroyer appear, and so fighters will attack that star destroyer, which allows the other people using the illusion to escape. You have empathy. Basically, you can read emotions, get a sense on your opponent, their emotional state, what they're capable of. Empathic illusions, you can use their emotions to project an illusion that's relevant to them. For example, Mara Jade, before she could strike down Kaidos, used an empathic illusion in which Mara Jade saw her son's face and hesitated, which allowed him to win. Teleporting, just simple, regular teleporting with the Force. There is also a passive teleportation in which Luke stated the Force was moving him to where he needed to be before he knew he had to be there. So it's passive in nature. Time stop, we saw Valkorion use this in the games, in which he would stop time and talk to a character, trying to convince him to join forces with him. Could create doppelgangers. Count Dooku did this, in which he created a clone of himself with roughly half his power to do his bidding in the Clone Wars. There's life manipulation, in which characters manipulated midichlorians to create life. And, most famously, Anakin Skywalker was created this way. Corpse reanimation. They can raise the dead. We saw Asajj Ventress do this before, where she raised a bunch of warriors from the dead to fight with her. Basically zombies. Dooku has done the same. It's more on the sorcery side of the Force. Energy drain, you can drain someone's energy from them or energy from an object. Energy absorption, it's like a little more complex than just simply draining and removing. You actually absorb it within yourself. Spells of madness, basically using sorcery to induce psychological damage upon your opponent. Lightning, force lightning, that we've even seen like light up a planet. Wind manipulation, basically elemental manipulation, is pretty easy and even passive for characters. Force sever, in which you can cut off another character from the Force, rendering them impotent in the Force. Soul and life drain. Most famous character for doing this is honestly Darth Nihilus from the Old Republic, which you can drain their soul and you can drain their life energy and Force energy. Possession, you can outright possess other bodies and other people. Oneness with the Force, where you become the embodiment of the Force. A lot of times you'll seem almost intangible, and your power level is amped significantly. Force Rage, in which your anger boosts all your stats. And finally, we have stuff like memory manipulation, where you can actually implant memories in people's heads, false memories, or manipulate the ones and erase the ones inside their head. Now, moving on to Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, all that. Goku's the main protagonist. He is a major martial artist on Earth. Basically, runs into a long-lost relative of his, Vegeta. They have smoke on the block because Vegeta is a Saiyan. And Goku learns he is a Saiyan, which is an alien race of highly powerful warriors. The whole time throughout the series, we basically see Goku fending off invaders, facing off against threats from either planetary level threats up to universal and beyond. Now, Goku loves to fight. Saiyans are born and bred to fight, and as a result, they put their culture and life behind that concept of just being ultimate warriors. So they're constantly improving and fighting, and the ones that are alive, because a lot of them got eradicated, constantly work to become stronger and deadlier fighters. So what can they do? They have something called ki, which is basically energy. They can use this ki in outward attacks and manipulate ki to become stronger and use stronger attacks. Kind of think along the lines of chakra and Naruto, or chi with Iron Fist and Marvel. They can counter hacks with just raw power. So it is kind of unique, in which if you use a certain hack on them, let's say, for example, mind manipulation, if they are strong enough, they could just overpower that. They don't necessarily have a trained resistance against it. They just, with their sheer power and willpower, could break out of hacks. We even saw this to the extent of Vegeta got turned into candy and still was able to fight. And he just fought through literally getting transmutated. So yeah, their counter to hacks with raw power is actually pretty impressive. They have mind resistance, like I said. This was shown also with Babidi, which they could adapt and resist mental manipulation. They have soul destruction, most famously the Hakai, in which the blast you hit your opponent with can erase their soul as well as their physical body. They can counter time hacks, time manipulation, time cages. With Hit, trying to put Goku in a time cage and time stop him. He countered it with power. Zenkai, which is essentially bullshit, but it's fine. So you get strong, like if you're about to die or you survive dying in a battle, you get stronger after. You gain strength from that battle. It's basically an amp, but it is permanent. They've reached power levels enough to actually affect dimensions. When he was battling Boo, towards the end of the beef, Boo was able to affect dimensions with his power, and he was being matched by a Saiyan, so logically they can reach those levels of power. Physical and energy augmentation to extreme levels, as well as quick power-ups of their own, amps of their own, Kaioken, in which they increase their energy output by multiple times, as well as they can learn certain forms like Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, in which for a period of time their power level goes up by an extreme amount, allowing them to fight on a different level than they previously could. So when you combine these two verses and combine their hacks, like they're allowed access to both sides, what would we see, particularly with like something like a Saiyan being able to become a Jedi or Sith? Essentially, this Saiyan in this verse would gain a lot of perks that they previously were able to resist, but couldn't necessarily do themselves, like, controlling someone's mind, time manipulation, memory manipulation, all that stuff. But now, since they are Force users and they have access to abilities in the Force, assuming they study, become more knowledgeable in the Force, and learn the different techniques in the Force, they will have access to these hacks. This would make them a very versatile fighter. A lot of times Saiyans, like through sheer power, are impressive warriors, but with the minute abilities in Star Wars, they would become very versatile and very dangerous. A lot more dangerous than before, in my opinion, because they can throw more shit at you. They would also, it's kind of a meme in Star Wars. Not Star Wars. Dragon Ball, like catching them off guard, like Goku's laser level, because he once got hit with a laser when he was off guard. It would be a lot harder to catch Saiyans off guard if they're Force sensitive, because the Force gives you a passive danger sense. So for example, like Kenobi and Anakin were chilling outside of a room and passively were able to pick up on an attempt on the life of Padme inside the room, and were able to react and kill the threat. So like the Force will, it's almost like a Spidey sense, it will alert you to incoming danger. So catching them off guard is very hard to do, especially if they are well-trained Force users. But yeah, so their offensive versatility goes up by an extreme amount, assuming they learn enough in the Force, as well as their intelligence. Saiyans are kind of stupid across the board. Like, they are natural fighters, but outside of everything else, they're stupid. Especially compared to Star Wars characters, the learned ones as well. So if they, gain the knowledge of Jedi or Sith and go that route, they will become vastly more intelligent, which makes them even more dangerous as fighters. And since they love to fight and love to learn battle, learning these abilities in the Force and learning how to use the Force properly would be a major goal of theirs. So I could definitely see them becoming very intelligent fighters and very dominant in the verse. Anyways, let me know what you think of the video. If you agree with my take on what if Saiyans, were Force sensitive essentially, let me know down below. Join my Discord, support my Patreon. If you want to see a video like what if Goku was a Jedi or Goku was a Sith or Vegeta was a Sith, like specific characters and specific roles and time periods, let me know down below. Like, subscribe, and comment. It's been your boy Sir Splash, and I will see y'all later. Peace.